All right. So one question I have for you, Oleg, actually, I hear this all the time. Agents ask me this a lot. Um, is do clients take credit hits whenever they get their pre-qualifications?
So it all depends, right? We have soft pulls and we have hard pulls. Okay. If I do a soft pull, there's no credit hit at all. Okay. If we do a hard pull, there is a credit hit. Okay. But again, as long as the client don't go out and try to get 10 pre-approvals in the matter of a week, okay, one or two credit hits is not a big deal. As you know, I own a credit repair company as well. So I'm pretty familiar with the what affects credit, what doesn't affect credit, and so on and so on. If you get numerous attempts on your credit, numerous inquiries, yes, that's going to drop your score. But if you do two in a few weeks, it's not going to do anything. Okay, a lot of people think it will, but that's false. Got that, Joe?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay. There's also, I mean, listen, there's just so many things I could talk about with credit repair and all that kind of stuff. There's a million ways. If you get if you have a low credit borrower that within 2 weeks I could show you how to raise his credit score 100 points. As you know, we've done that before. So there's a million ways to skin a cat. Okay. But right now I'm going to go over the actual mortgage process. So after I get a pre-approval, okay, and I send a pre-approval, okay, the client, if I need tax returns because he's self-employed, or he tells me on the phone he writes off a lot of stuff, then I want to see the tax returns. If he's a W-2 employee for FedEx and he tells me he makes $95,642 a year, I'm pretty comfortable, with that answer, considering he's a good credit score and so on and so on. Excuse me. So once I send out the pre-approval, then they go, usually, if the offer gets accepted, 9 out of 10 times the realtor will call me and say, hey, do we want 45 days? Do we want a commitment in 14 days? And I'm fine with all of that. That's no problem. I could close as fast as 20 days. From start to finish. Commitment I could get in probably 4 days. And that's, pretty long.
Yeah. And that's a powerful tool to have.
It's a very powerful tool, yes.
Yeah, especially if you could get appraisals waived. Sometimes that happens, which is very nice.
Right. Well, with me, so I'm going to go over the mortgage, to tell you the mortgage process right now. So with me, and not a lot of mortgage guys are like this, but with me, I never charge the borrower no matter what. I don't charge them any points. I never charge application fees, and I waive all the bank fees. Even if the banks charge, I waive it. Okay. The borrower never gets charged any fees from me, okay, from the mortgage company. So what we do is once they get the house, an attorney review is complete. The one thing I tell them is I do not want any paperwork until attorney review is complete, okay? And I usually won't submit the loan, okay, until the inspection is fully done and everybody's through, because in my experience, a lot of loans get lost. A lot of houses get lost with the inspections. And and obviously before attorney review in this market, the cash offers come in, they swoop in, and all of a sudden your borrower's gone. So what I normally do is once they're in attorney review, I usually have my girl send them a link. It's called the Flowify. That's what I use. On the Flowify, would be all the information that I would need from the client, based on his situation. Last 2 years tax return, a year of insurance, last 2 months bank statements, homeowners insurance agents, so on and so on. Okay. It's a very simple process. They basically scan all their paperwork into the link. It goes to my girl. My girl puts it together, sends it to my processor. Okay. Now we wait. The processor gets it, waits until they're out of attorney review and they're 100% in contract. Okay. Then she sends it to the lender. Okay. I pick the best lender for the best rate and the best situation that I have. She sends it to that lender. The client in turn would get a good faith estimate emailed to them. They e-sign the good faith estimate, and then their loan goes directly into underwriting. Okay. Once it goes into underwriting, usually a couple days, I'll get a notice that I have a commitment, a deal's been approved. Okay. Then my processor cleans through the deal and she would email the client everything that they need, introduce herself, and so on and so on. And then once the client gets all the information that the bank asked for, the processor would turn around and send that over to the bank. Then the bank would give, then the bank, in the midst of that, I missed it actually. In the midst of that, if I didn't get an appraisal waiver, which a lot of times you get today, depending on the deal, we would order the appraisal. Okay, then the appraisal will come back. If the appraisal is good, they clear all the conditions. Okay, and they would issue a clear to close. In turn, we would send an email to the realtors, the attorneys, and everybody else that the borrower is clear to close. Please schedule closing. It sounds a lot easier than it is because, customers are not all as easy as, probably one easy one and 9 difficult ones. Even if they look easy, they're never easy.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes it's good to stay on top of your clients, not really on top of them, but ask them, how are they doing with the mortgage? Are they getting their paperwork on time? Are they submitting their information on time? Sometimes you could even ask the lender too, say, hey, how's my client doing?
So what I recommend all my realtors is I actually call, even if I don't know the realtor and I get, I get a client and he has a realtor that didn't send me the deal, I call the realtor, I introduce myself, I give the realtor my cell phone number, and I tell them to call me with any questions. This way, the good thing about me, it's my company, and I'm 24 hours. Listen, I won't answer at 3 a.m, but midnight I'll answer the phone if I'm awake. So I'm always I'm always available. You can call me anytime, and I would explain to the realtor, what's going on. If there's an issue, I would always call the realtor and say, look, I have this issue. Can you help with this? Can you help with that? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. If they can, great. If they can't, then, I have to figure out a different way. And we normally do. I like to pride myself in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's good too. So like during the submittal process, once you get the paperwork and everything done, what good lenders do is they'll call the other agent too, which is what Oleg was talking about. Is say hi, and they introduce themselves, basically say these are excellent clients, their credit scores are fantastic, their income's way above what the mortgage is going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of adds to the confidence level in the selling agent, because when you're a listing agent and you get offers in, the price, any good agent will tell you that the list price isn't really always, that's not just how things stack up. It's is it a lender they're using that's great? Are you using their recommended attorney? Was the paperwork filled in correctly and not just like a total mess? And what I usually do too is I'll always, like Oleg said, like after the offer is submitted, I don't really check in. I do that all before. and I let the agents know, hey, my clients, they really like the house. They'll do backflips if they get it. And I'll just kind of warm up to the agent just to make myself stand out a little bit. So when they actually get to my offer, even if I have the lowest offer in the pile, they're going to talk a little bit more about me because of what I told them and what I told them about the clients. And I try to emphasize my clients will get to the closing table. And saying words and things like that are very strong, very powerful. I've beat out a lot of offers because of that were even better than my offer, just because of these having all these little things that make you stand out. It's a really good tool, and having a lender that can get in touch with them too to just increase the confidence level of, yeah, these people are going to get to the closing table.
Can I make a suggestion as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have one suggestion that I see. I deal with a lot of realtors, and I'd like to make a suggestion to all of you. If you have a client that is really gung ho about a house, they really want the house, okay, and it's a family, wife, kids, this and that, okay. I have a lot of agents that what they do is they have the family type up a letter, okay, explaining how, this is their dream home and they love it and blah, 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 with a picture of the family, believe it or not, in the letter, okay? And from what I'm experiencing 9 out of 10 times, when it is um, done that way, because it is so, it's such an emotional event, a lot of times their offer gets accepted. Um,
I would say we don't do that anymore. I think we could do that, but they stopped that. I don't know if you know that they stopped. Like, you can't like officially do that anymore. At least from a realtor. I think the family could do it and drop it off on their own, but as a realtor, you
no,
can't.
it would come from the family, not from the realtor.
Yeah, and that's
No,
what
that's
I'm
what
saying.
a family can do it and drop it in
Right.
the mail.
Yeah, I used to do it. I used to have a really nice outline for a photo, a breakout, and I used to forward them, but they stopped it. So the family themselves can do it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't put your advertising on it, but I would have the family do it. I have a realtor now, okay? Just recently, that's why it came into my mind. We just got an offer accepted, and that's what she did. She had the family write a nice letter with pictures of literally their daughter, their son, their dog. I mean, um, it was pretty crazy. Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
And she has her clients do it all the time, and it's very successful. So yes, I agree with you, Joe. The realtor absolutely cannot do it, but the client 1000% could do it. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so a client could 1000% do that. It's just, listen, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's just something that I've seen work numerous times. So just making a suggestion.
Yeah. So so you got to the whole process pretty much. You good with
Pretty
the
much. Anybody have any questions other than you, Joe? No?
you guys have any questions about like the process where it's like what's underwriting, what's the title company do? I know those are typical questions that people ask a lot, and Oleg could actually answer them for you. If you guys don't, then I'll just move on to my part, which is going to be basically tips about what I do with the offer contract.
I may have a question. I'll try to phrase it. So, is there any way, Oleg, is there any way to get something stronger than a pre-approval for, for an offer? I don't know. I heard that there's, well, the commitment is a commitment to mortgage. It comes later, but is there anything in between for us to show that? I cannot hear you.
There's nothing in between. So a lot of times what you heard is you're probably thinking about, there's something called Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac approval.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But my pre-approvals, once you get a pre-approval from me, it's already, if it's already stated that it's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac approved. Okay. What realtors were trying to do a couple years ago and within the last year is trying to get Fannie Mae approval on top of a pre-approval, which, it pretty much bit them, it pretty much backfired on them. It wasn't working because it's already on the pre-approval.
Got it.
Okay. So there's really nothing in between. Okay. But I make myself available to the realtor. So if the realtor ever questions my pre-approval, I would tell you, great, give them my cell phone number, have them call me. Okay. I've actually done that with Joe many times. Have them call me. They call me. I talk to them about the client. I tell them, I tell them about the client, tell them that they're good, blah, blah, blah. They won't have a problem, this, that, the other thing. And 9 out of 10 times it's beneficial to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Excellent.
All right. So now going back to the whole submitting the offer process, once you're ready and you have somebody who wants to submit their offer, I'm unmuted, right? Okay. What would happen is you get the pre-approval, make sure that the offer matches. Now, the things you need to ask for the buyers, I'm kind of saying this, I mean, I know most of you have already done deals already, but I'm just kind of going over the highlights of it. The main things you want, and you want this for the purposes of speed and making yourself look better too. Because the more you put into these offers, the better. So I'm going to share an offer contract. And so one of the main things you want to go and ask your sellers is, can you all see this contract, the PDF file? Can you guys see that? Yay or nay? All right, good. So obviously the first step is you're just going to check whatever one is to use, which is the buyer. You want to know, you want to get their full names too. Make sure you get their full names as it would be written when it's deeded, their actual, like, on their license names, because it's just going to have to get changed later. And this way it stays consistent. And always ask, if say you're only helping, one person, but there's a married couple involved, but you're only showing them constantly, and you're going to make the offer, make sure you ask them who else is going to be on the mortgage for this, because they're all going to have to sign. And if they're married, even though somebody's not going to, so like in my house, I'm not on the mortgage, my wife is, but I'm on the deed, so I signed anyway. So it just helps headaches later. So that's important information to know and to do. Get their home address, their main address. You want that. Fill that in. Make sure it's filled in. Also, when you're filling in your contracts, take the time to look up where the sellers live, if they are living at that residence. If they're living somewhere else, like it's an investment property, then just leave it blank. But make sure you fill in that information. The more you fill in, the better you're going to look. The next main thing you're going to want to ask is, once you establish a purchase price, is what their deposit is going to be. Their main deposit for their loan, if they're 10%, 15, 20%, whatever it is, you want to know what that number is. And you have to talk to them about the deposit that will go into the seller's attorney's escrow account, which is typically 10 days after attorney review. Right. So you have the attorney review process. That's when the attorneys go back and forth and kind of shred this whole document up, which is why I like adding a lot of information to this, because it just makes it easier for everyone. The agents know that, everybody knows that. And so you get all that information as much as possible and as accurate as possible. As far as the deposit, which is going to be due once attorney review is over, within 10 days of being under contract, I typically do 5%. I tell my clients 5% of the total sale price is what you should deposit. A lot of agents will tell you 10%. There's parts in I know, like in Livingston, if you make offers in Livingston, New Jersey, like their standard is a 10% deposit, and they get a little like, what do you mean? Why are you only doing less than 10%? So it does depend on where you are, but 5% is what I go with. If the other agent wants more, that could be negotiated, but that would go on the additional deposit line. Initial deposit, that's not even a thing anymore. That used to be when you used to shake hands and here's $1,000 check and we're going to agree I'm going to buy your house. Don't even worry about that anymore. So some tricks I do, and don't be an annoying agent and try to put buyer's attorney on this line. Every time they do, it has to get changed anyway. Money will always go into the seller attorney's account. That's just, it's always going to happen. It'll never happen. It'll never happen any other way. Leaving these blank is fine, because if you read, it'll say, within 30 days, attorney review period. That's when I actually type that in anyway. I just put 10 days after AR or 10 days after attorney review. I always put that. Closing date, make sure you get the closing date from the seller first. Ask the agent what date does the seller prefer. It's better to know that first than guess, because you never know. They might want 3 months, 4 months. They might want as fast of a closing as possible. So having that information is really important, because you want to make sure this matches what they want as much as possible. The other thing I personally add, and has seemed to help a lot, is if your clients are flexible, I will put not only will I put the closing date, I'll also in parentheses put flexible. So because this is one of the main things that get looked at first. You could put that in the provisions at the end, but having it here, to me, it's just another added thing to make you like stick out, and like they're gonna know we're flexible. That's if your buyer agrees to that. So that's kind of the main things. I'm kind of turning this into how to submit an offer too, which I think is fine if you guys are all cool with it. It's just because I've seen so many different ways to write these contracts. And my very first contract I ever wrote, I was taught just so poorly that when I submitted that offer, the other agent called me immediately and was like, wow, you are new. She didn't even say hello. She just said, you're new. And I was like, how do you know that? Like, my broker taught me how to do this. She goes, well, he did it wrong. So some people in here, in the exclusions of what is in the sale and not, they'll just put per MLS or per seller's disclosure. I guess if the seller's disclosure is super accurate, you could do that. But I always actually write the items in based on what the MLS says, just so there's no misinformation. It's actually here. The attorneys can see it. And it takes a little bit extra time, but it's just worth having what's excluded, what's included. Everything else is municipal assessment. I mean, a lot of these are kind of, this is always, I tend to leave this blank now. I used to fill it in, but now attorneys tend to just put in whatever numbers they personally like best. So right here, it's usually $500 or $1,000. Now they don't limit it. They don't do the 1.5%. So I leave it for the attorneys to do. Municipal assessments. I mean, you don't know what this answer is, so you could leave it blank. I typically just answer no. If there's tenants, typically not. So you just put no. If you do know there's tenants and you have the names, put the names in, because that's going to help the attorneys. Lead base, 1978 or before, yes or no. Make sure you add that, and fill in all this stuff as best as you can. Most of these are going to be no. It just looks better to me, and I don't care how good or poor the other agent is. Filling this stuff in is just a very good habit to have, and doing it consistently and doing it right. And if you guys want, I could show you how I fill these in. I use Zip Forms. I think Zip Forms is probably the best online e-sign system. So just my personal opinion, I could show you how I do it. I could do a whole offer in like less than 15 minutes.
Joe, can I ask a question? You just skipped the
Yeah.
do you cross if your buyers are not doing any inspection contingencies? Do you cross the inspection thing there, or you leave it?
Oh, on here? No,
Yeah.
I don't cross anything out on here.
Mhm,
I'll if there's any like unique things that the clients are doing, I put it in the
mhm,
provisions. That's where it
mhm.
really belongs. Um, so I won't cross any of this stuff out because
Okay.
it's a part of the contract. It's more informational anyway, you know.
Mhm,
So it's not really worth. You'll just sit here crossing a million things out, you know. Anyway, so
mhm.
it's just not
Okay.
really worth it. Any attorney will tell you filling out this page is very important to them. This is the listing agent and the in the world of real estate, it's I still think it's silly. The buying agent is called the selling agent. The listing agent is the selling agent. Sometimes they're sometimes they're like almost the same thing, but whatever. It's it always I see like in this case, seller's agent. In this case, it's like that is the listing agent, but other places selling agent will be buyer's agent. It's very confusing. But I would mark this all as best as possible. Also, quick note, because I just ran into this problem, disclose dual agent. That doesn't mean just you representing the other side. It means anybody in your office. So I'm with EXP. So if Dana put an offer on a listing I have, she's with EXP too. I would have to have a dual agency signed because it's the same brokerage. It has nothing to do with the person. Um, and that goes for any office. So yeah, fill in all this best you can, add the license ID, literally just add everything, especially the agent's cell phone number and their name, because attorneys tell me all the time whenever they got to go back and make calls or figure out who the agents are, they reference this page and they get aggravated if it's blank. So it's just worth filling in. Plus, it just looks better. Or like when people don't fill it in when they're offering on my listings, I get annoyed because I fill it in then, and it's just it's like pulling teeth sometimes to get them to do it. Here I would check the boxes that all pertain, and then here in the additional contract provisions, I will tell you a a one trick I do that goes to what you were saying, Dana, about inspections. I will tell you no house is as is. Like, even though people will say it's as is, no house will sell for as is. No attorney will allow it because it's just, if there is a serious foundational problem that you didn't know about, you're not going to buy that house. You know, you're not going to be stuck with it. I actually almost did that myself. I almost bought a house in Nutley. um, I loved it, but it was a little, I thought it was a little too pricey for what they wanted. And I saw that house came back on the market a year later. I walked in the house was sinking. I was literally getting vertigo walking in the house. And I was like, oh, now I know why it never sold. So there's never going to be 100% as is. There's always going to be some limitations and some protections, especially with waiving appraisals too. There's always going to be a bottom. There's never going to be we waive indefinitely because that's just not going to happen. They will put some kind of either down to the list price or down to some agreed upon price. So I would put that in here. But in addition to what I do, if you want to say as is, which is basically major issues, everybody puts the thing around here at least is they always put limit inspections to environmental, mechanical, structural. That pretty much covers all of the main items. Sometimes people will take out one, maybe take out mechanical because that's like air conditioner, furnace, dishwasher and stuff. Maybe if they're all in working order, you're fine. Sometimes you could even do like a little trick and just get like a home warranty, and that'll cover all your mechanicals. So it'll make you look a little better in the offer. The other thing I do too, I don't know how much it's going to play out for right now, but when I submit offers with the limitations, which is kind of default now anyway, in addition to that, I will ask the buyers if they want to waive an additional amount of money, which is, I'll say, like, in addition to environmental, mechanical, and structural, we also will not request items that cost less than $250 to repair. So it limits it even further, and it shows that your clients literally will not nitpick. You could phrase it two ways. You could do like up to an amount, say like up to $1,000 of minor repairs we won't bother you with, or on a per item. Um, I don't know how much longer that's going to last with the market shifting a little bit, but things are still nutty. There's still not a whole lot of homes for sale, but I would throw that trick in because I've done it, and I've got a lot of offers accepted by adding that. Just because, again, it's about adding confidence to the seller. It's about showing that you are more likely going to close. So that's really it. As far as paperwork too, always get the wire fraud form signed. Always get the CIS form signed. Always make sure you show your clients the seller's disclosure if there is one, or any addendums or any notes that the sellers have to convey to the buyers. Send them. I actually send them separate. So when I send them the paperwork to sign, I also send them on the side the PDFs, because it's just easier to read the PDF than going through like Dotloop or Zip or whatever you're using. And I'll say, please go over the seller's disclosure so you know what you're getting into. And you want to offer appropriately based on things in that report too. There's one thing I don't like is double dipping. I don't like if people try to do it to me, and I wouldn't want my buyers to do that either. And double dipping is essentially they disclose the roof is old and needs repairing. You offer $600,000 for the house. It gets accepted, and the inspection says, "Oh, the roof needs to be repaired," and then your clients try to get a discount. Like, to me, that's a double dipping move. I am not very particular, and I don't like that. So make sure they're offering based on what they know too, and that's why it's very important to know the seller's disclosure, especially if there's a well or a septic tank. You want to make sure they know about these things. So other than that, really, we're at 45 minutes. Well, a little, yeah, about that. So I will stop sharing that, and that's really it. I think we're good from here. If you guys have any questions, any situations you've been in, anything I might have missed that you're not sure about. Oh, you know what? I could actually give you guys one thing that I was not sure about for years, because no agent, no broker ever knew the answer, which like, and it ends up being not a big deal, but the fact that I never got the answer, the actual answer, was always very frustrating to me, because I like knowing what if there's rules and there's words on paper, I want to know what those words mean. So in the lead paint disclosure, there's a question, just two check boxes, where you can receive a 10-day opportunity to test for lead, the gist of what it says, or you could waive your opportunity to get a lead paint inspection. And what that really means is your clients are going to hire a separate inspector who just inspects lead, which means they're going to drill holes in walls and test for lead. Is essentially what it means. I've yet to be in that situation where anybody has done that. And I would say, even if your clients waive the right, if the inspector finds lead, your regular inspector, then you could absolutely just go and test for lead. Like, he won't test for lead, but he'll be like, that looks like lead. And then you could do that. So that's one thing that I only just found out the real answer. So you could really essentially pick either, but I just put they get 10 days. And it's that some people just always waive it. It is one or the other, but that's the answer. So
is it better to always pick that they get 10 days, and whether they decide to use that or not is up to them?
I just pick it because I'd rather let them have it than waive it right off the bat. But as far as I understand it, if lead is found during the inspection, there's every right to inspect further on it.
Oh, okay.
So, like, even if you waived it, I guess maybe the real answer was maybe way back when almost every house had lead in it. That was kind of more of a common thing. Lead was just always being tested, but it's not really that. People either got rid of it, or they painted over it, or you can't find it, or homes are newer. We're talking 1978 here. So a funny side note about that, they still use lead paint actually to paint certain things like poles for airplanes, because lead paint is the brightest white that could be actually painted. So if you want a dorky little fact to share with people, you can tell them that. Other than that, yeah, with homes, no more lead paint.
It's good bar conversation, right?
I guess if you're hanging out with a bunch of dorks like me that know stupid things like that. Yeah, so any questions, any other issues, any things you've came into or ran into, I guess I should say, your offers? I think we went over a lot. I kind of like how this played out. The it is all about getting that offer accepted, and to me though, you always want to make sure you're doing the right thing for your client too, and it's a house they really want too. You got to go over. There's a lot of nuances, I guess you could say, but if they love that house, that's your job to get it for them. You know, um, I guess I would also say one thing with offers is I used to try to be like, and this is basically because maybe what I was taught, or maybe, a combination of me thinking it was the right thing, or what I was taught, those two together. But I used to always try to come up with the magic number for my clients for them to offer, like, what do we offer on this? And then I would go through the comps, and I'd start, nitpicking things, and like, well, this has a kitchen updated, but this one doesn't. This one has an extra room. This one has but this should be worth that. And you realize that you're just kind of going a little too crazy for yourself, and now you're actually spending their money. And what I've started to do was, instead of doing all that, is I let them pick the number, but I provide them the information. I give them the comps, and I say, well, look, you love this house, okay? Well, here's homes that are of almost equal size, bathrooms, bedrooms, garages, same part of town too. You also want to find the homes in the same part of town. Like Nutley is a good example. Yantakal section is the best section in Nutley, considered, what most people consider. And there's other parts that are less so. So like if you're finding a colonial in the nicest part of the town, you can't really compare it to not the nicest part of town. Not to say anything bad in Nutley. Nutley's a great town and all, but it's just every town has sections that are better than others based on schools, and if there's a park in that part of town, like whatever it is. So you want to compare apples to apples as best you can, show them the comp, show them the range, and say, look, here's the hard facts. What do you think you should offer? And once they tell me a number, if I think they might be a little low, like I'm just getting feedback from the agent, or like I just have a feeling like it might need a little bit more of a oomph, I would say, if you could go another 5, that might be beneficial to you. I think that's my opinion, but I think it's a fantastic offer. It all depends on how excited they are, and there's always a little bit of a factor, but I mostly, for the most part, let them pick their price. And I think that's a good rule of thumb to do. And you get in less trouble that way. And like I said, I tried to be a hero so many times, like trying to come up with a perfect number, and then they pick my number and it wins, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope I didn't make them ask too much. I'm like, oh God, and I start getting sleepless nights from it. So yes, I don't do that anymore. So all right, well, that's just me rambling. The anything else? Heather, James? No, James is a pro.
I would just say that I've won homes just by sheerly filling out everything in the contract, as opposed to other people who do not.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's huge. You'd be surprised how many agents don't even, I have one offer right now. And it happened to be my only offer, which is why I didn't like attack the guy and just being like, dude, what's your problem? It was just like, he's the only offer we had for my client, and my client loved the offer. So, but I was just like, man, he had like literally nothing filled in, not the seller's name, not my name. And I asked him to fix it, and then he like fixed like 2 things. Oh my God. It was just like, if there was other offers, I would just be like, I don't even want this. Like, because, and it's not just because you're mad because they're not doing it. It just shows you the type of quality of the person that is making the offer. If they're taking the time to fill everything in, it shows a little more responsibility. And that's what it comes down to.
And also your experience throughout the transaction probably won't be great.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. It's gonna be hard to get in touch with them, hard to get them to fill out things, you know, if you need it done, you know. So yeah, no, that's a great point. So we good? Everybody's good? We got 5 minutes left. Actually I have to get to some showings myself. So I'm glad my dogs have not. Oh, speaking of which. All right. So Dana, Heather, Mauricio, you guys good? Cool. All right. I hope you enjoyed. I recorded it. Well, I missed the first part of Oleg's, but I recorded it. So if you want a copy, I'll send it to you guys, and I'll make it available. So and I'll be trying to do more of these, as many Fridays as I can. I can't promise every Friday, but if you think of anything that you might help you or something you'd like to see a class on, let me know.
Lead generation, Joe. That's the one.
Generation?
Of course.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, you could go in so many directions with that.
I'm trying to buy the Joe Charles program. How much you charge it?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'll make that a pay per view class. Yeah, yeah. I could probably do something like that. I have a couple of good contacts with some really good coaches. If I could get a big enough class going, I'm sure I could get him. I know a guy. He's like a killer age. He's actually retired now, and I've been talking with him a lot. He's freaking awesome. Maybe I'll do something like that. So really, I mean, the big thing with leads is contacts, conversations. You know, the more of them you
Social
can do, the better.
media.
Social media, yeah. Social media is the hard one though, like because you have to really dedicate to social media, right? You have to like I know of an agent who built her entire business around social media, but she posts like 12 to 15 times a day. You know, she's posted 60,000 times in her career in like 10 years. It's like it's insane, but that's where all her leads came from. But she's putting herself out there, doing clips, doing videos, doing this and that. And
Have you looked at my Instagram, Joe?
I have not.
It's the Southern Belle Realtor.
That's cool.
The Southern Belle Realtor. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Check it out. You'll see my social media content. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten some leads off of it, and whether it's just one or two here and there, that's good, you know, because then they tell their friends or whatever. But really your sphere of influence and those people, you need to keep your face in front of them constantly so they remember.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I know a realtor, Heather.
Yeah.
I see her on social media.
Yeah. What is it? Is it Southern Belle Realtor?
The Southern Belle Realtor.
Oh, you're the one.
Well, the Southern Belle Realtor was taken and it didn't even have anything on there. I was so mad. I was like, where's all your content? Nothing. So I'm the Southern Belle
Oh,
Realtor.
there you are. How sweet. How am I not following you already? All right, cool.
I got 4,700
Oh,
followers.
yeah. Oh, see, so there we could do. Hey, Heather, if you ever want, we could do. You could tell people how you do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So, all right, we'll come up with something. Send me suggestions. We'll figure it out together. And like I said, I'll keep sending out messages, and we'll keep these going. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for stopping.
Take it easy.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Take care, everybody.
Welcome. Bye.